Okay, good morning class. Today we are going to start with geography. First chapter, resources and development. Okay, so what is the meaning of resources? Resources means whatever thing which is available in our environment, which is useful to us, that is known as resources. And development means anything, any thing from one stage to other stage when we are developing. That is known as development. Okay, improvement. Okay, so resources and their development and how that is helping in our economic development. All those things we are going to learn in this chapter. Also, we are going to see which type of resources are there, how are the classification done, and what are the main resources which is available in our nature. For example, soil. How is considered as an important resources, which different types of soils we have, and what are they used, which type of crops grown, that everything we will learn in this chapter. So let's go on. Resources and development. So what is the definition of resources? Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as a resource. So keep this in mind. Resource is whatever thing which is available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs. And the other thing is it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. Those types of things are known as resources. So now see here, interdependent relationship between nature, technology, and institution. What is the relationship? What is the interdependent relationship between these three things with us, with human beings? How is these three things interrelated? So human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. You can understand it from this diagram, how human beings are centered and how we are using our physical environment, how we are using nature. We are using technology to use our nature, and with that technology and with nature, we are creating different institutions which is accelerating our economic development. So we all are interdependent. We all are having relationship with each other. Now here in this slide, you can see the classification of resources. What are the different classification of resources? Classification of resources is done in two parts. One is natural and the other is human. So what are under natural? Natural means renewable and non-renewable. You already know, I know what is renewable resource and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources means which can be used again. For example, they have given here continuous or flow, example, wind, water, etc. and all. Renewable will come under also biological, and biological is further divided into two, natural vegetation and wildlife. So they all are renewable. But what is the meaning of non-renewable? Non-renewable means having two types, recyclable and non-recyclable. Some non-renewable are there which can be recycled, example metals, and non-recyclables means fossil fuels. These resources take millions of years to create. So we consider them as non-renewable, and under that recycle and non-recycle. Then here is human resources, that is further divided into two, structures and institutions, quantity and quality. The under human structures and institutions, that means with the help of technology, whatever institutions we are making, it can be any, it can be colleges, universities, offices, schools, all that comes under institutions. So how they are coming under human resources, and the quantity and the quality of human resources, what we are using and what is usable, that is also coming under this human resources. So now here they have considered two main resources. See here, on the basis of origin. Now resources can be further classified on the basis of origin. biotic resources and abiotic resources. That is this one, this picture. Biotic resources means all the living beings. It can be plants, it can be animals, it can be protists, it can be fungus, it can be bacteria, whatever living things are there that come under biotic resources. And abiotic resources means under water, soil, air, mineral and light. They don't have life. That is non-living things that come under abiotic resources. So here you can see on the basis of origin, biotic resources obtained from biosphere which have life. And the examples are human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. And abiotic resources mean composed of non-living things, example rocks and metals. Okay. Now next is dividing the environment. This is also one of the image which I have taken for showing biotic factors and abiotic factors. These two ways are how the environment is divided. Okay. Now first we have seen on the basis of origin. Now it is on the basis of exhaustibility. It's further divided into renewable resources and non-renewable resources. The same thing what we have seen earlier, the same thing what we have seen in the first diagram, that is how the resources are divided. So here is renewable resources and non-renewable resources. You can see here solar, wind energy, water energy and all, and real fuels, batteries, metals, minerals, whatever, that is non-renewable resources. Here the definition also I have given. Renewable resources means those are renewed, those can be replenished and which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical processes. The example is given as solar and wind energy, water, forest and wildlife, etc. So renewable resources may further be divided into continuous or flow resources, that is wind and water, which is continuous, that does not stop. It is going on, moving on, that is continuous. When it is non-renewable resources are formed over a substantially long geological time. It takes millions of years for the formation of those resources. So it is known as non-renewable, and the examples are given as minerals and fossil fuels, and which can be further subdivided into recyclable and non-recyclable. That is metals, fossil fuels, which cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. So we have to be very careful when we are using any type of resources, whether it is renewable or non-renewable. We should only use up to our need. We should not waste any type of resources. Next thing here, the picture is also given about renewable resources. Wind energy is there, water energy is there, solar energy is there. So these are some of the picture of renewable resources. Next is on the basis of ownership. On the basis of ownership. Now, two things we have already seen: origin, exhaustibility, and now third one is ownership. It's further divided into four: individual, community owned, national, and international. These are the main four bases of ownership. And what is this? Individual. Individual resources means those resources which are owned by individuals. For example, we are having what we say, a field or a farm. We are having a house. We are having a vehicle. We are having a property. That is all our individual resources. We can also say mobile. We are our own laptop. They are our individual resources. Okay. Here the examples are given: land owned by farmers, plantation, pasture lands, ponds, watering wells owned by individuals, plots, houses, and other property owned by individuals in the city, etc. So that means other people can't use that. It's our own property, our own resources. So we name it as individual resources. Second one here, it is community. Community resources means those resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. No individual person can say that this is only my resource. That is community resource which can be accessible to all the members of the community. The examples are given as village common grazing grounds, rural grounds, village ponds, etc. They are for everyone living in that village. Public park, picnic spots, and playgrounds in urban areas. Nobody can tell us that don't enter this public park because it's public park. It's for the community resource. Okay. Next is national resource. What is the meaning of national resource? National resource means those resources that belongs to a nation. National, it belongs to a nation. The examples given here are road, canals, railways, minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, etc. Land within the political boundaries. That means the political boundary of our country for India is our national resource, our country's resource. Nobody else can just enter and use it. That is national resource, which is the land within the political boundaries. Territorial water and the resource within. The term territorial water refers to the oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles, 19.2 kilometers from the coast. Nautical miles is the measurement which they have done for the oceanic area. The country has legal powers to acquire even private property for public good. Urban development authorities get empowered by the government to acquire the land. I think this same sentence we have done in ninth standard also. I remember that if for public need, for a public good, if our government wants our private property, then they can ask for it. They can acquire it. They are having the legal power. For example, our house is there and there is near a village. We are having a big land near our house and there is going to be development and road is going to be coming there or there is going to be a railway coming there. The government officials will come and ask us for the ground. So sometimes they pay for us and some people take the pay for that and some say that it's for the economic development, so we don't want the payment. So these two things are there. But the government is having that legal power to ask our private property also for any type of public good which is going to come. Next is international resources. International resources means which are regulated by certain international institutions. They can include oceanic resources beyond 200 kilometers of the exclusive economic zone, which belongs to open ocean and no individual country can utilize this without the concurrence of international institutions. Now here in national resource we have seen that oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles, that is 19.2 kilometers, that is our national resource. But in international, the oceanic resource beyond 200 kilometers comes under the international institution and no individual country can utilize this without the concurrence of international institution. India had to obtain the right to mine manganese nodules from the bed of the Indian Ocean from an area which lies beyond the exclusive economic zone. We have to take the permission of the international institution for any kind of operation beyond 200 kilometers in the oceanic resource. Now here just a diagram showing individual resource, community-owned resource, national resource, and international resource. See here you can see the territorial sea, 12 nautical miles from baseline. Okay, and the exclusive economic zone, continuous zone up to 12 miles, and then the economic zone which is up to 200 nautical miles, which is coming under the international this, and high sea, the sea, the deep sea bed and all. Okay. Now we have seen three: on the basis of origin, on the basis of exhaustibility, on the basis of ownership. Now the fourth one, on the basis of development. Okay. Potential resources and developed resources. Potential resources means those resources which are found in a region but have not been utilized. It's found in the region, it's there, we know, but we have not utilized it. For example, see a good example is given here about the states of Gujarat and Rajasthan, that wind and solar energy development potential states are this. We know in this region this resource is there, wind and solar, but till now we have not utilized it. Okay. It may be that we don't need it now or we have kept it and something, but that is known as potential resource. We know that it is there in the region, but we have not utilized. Second is developed resource. Developed resources are resources that have been surveyed and determined for utilization both qualitatively and quantitatively. The development of resource depends on technology and level of their feasibility. That means those resources which have been already been surveyed, and we have also determined for the utilization both quantity wise and quality wise. But it depends upon the technology and the level of their feasibility to use those resources. That is developed resources. They are already been surveyed. It's surveyed and determined for utilization. But now the technology has to be, it depends on the technology that how we are using it quantity wise or quality wise. Now, these are the other two things which is coming under the on the basis of development, that is stock and reserve. Stock word, you know what is the meaning of stock? Stock means we are having it to satisfy, we are having the resource to satisfy our human needs. But there is a problem that we don't have the appropriate technology to assess that material or that resource. That is coming under stock. That means we know that in this place and in this environment we are having this resource or this material to satisfy our human needs, and we need that also, but we are not having a proper technology to use that. That is stock. Next is reserve. Reserve means what? That is a subset of the stock. That means with the help of technology, we know how to use it, we know the material is also there, but we are not using it now. We have kept it for reserve. We have kept it as for meeting the future requirements. That is reserve. Again, I am saying, what is the main difference between stock and reserve? Stock means we know that this thing or this resource is available in this environment, but we don't have the proper technology to assess it. That is stock. And reserve means we know that the thing is there, the technology is also there, but still we are not using it because we are keeping it for the future requirement. We are not going to use it. So some example is also given here, that water is a compound of two inflammable gases, hydrogen and oxygen, which could be used as a good source of energy, but we don't know the technique how to use that from the water differently. And the example for reserve is, we know that river water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only to a limited extent. Thus, the water in the dam is a reserve which can be used in the future. Next one. Problems created by indiscriminate use of resource by man. As I told you earlier when we were explaining renewable resources and non-renewable resources, that we should always use the resource up to only our need. We should not use anything under greed. It should be always under need. So the problems created by indiscriminate use of resource by man is coming in under three types, that is many resources which got depleted, like forest, which has been got depleted because of indiscriminate use of resource by man. We are just cutting the trees for making different things and for selling it in the market for high value. We are just disturbing our ecological balance by cutting the forest. Second is resources got accumulated in the hands of few people. The society is divided into rich and poor. Only some people are getting all the resources and they have got accumulated in the hands of them. So they are becoming rich and rich. And the poor people, they are still poor. They are not getting the proper resources. Next is global warming and ozone layer depletion. Environmental degradation are also the other problems. Global warming, you know what is global warming. What is ozone layer depletion? Because of all this pollution and all, our ozone layer is getting disturbed. It's having holes in it. And because of that, what happens is the direct ultraviolet rays from the sun is coming to our earth. And it is not good for us, good for the living beings. So because of all these things, who are causing all these things? The men. So the man is only going to get affected by it also. The problems, these are some of the problems which are created by the indiscriminate use of resource by man. Okay, this is a small topic in your textbook, sustainable development, but it is a it's an important thing. Sustainable development means what? Development, the economic development, which does not damage the environment and at the same time takes care of the needs of the future generation, is called as sustainable development. That means that development which is not going to damage the environment at the same time and take care of the need of the future generation is called sustainable development. That means development is important, but it should happen in such a way that it is not harming the generation now and it is not going to harm the future generation. That is sustainable development, which is not harming anyone. Here you can see the picture also, the green economy, sustainable development, low carbon growth plus resource efficiency plus social inclusivity. These all are is equal to sustainable development, those development which can be sustained. Next is resource planning. What is resource planning? For anything, whatever we use, or at home also, whenever we are going for any place or whenever we are going to do some event at our home, we do the planning. So planning is very much important. So same way, when we are having resource and we want to use the resource and we want to develop the resource, there should be a proper planning or a proper technique. Then only we can do the proper utilization of the resource. So here there are some stages of resource planning are there. Identification and listing of resources, and planning for exploitation, and match the resource development plans with the national development plan. That is surveying, understanding, measuring the quality and quantity of the resource available, and then using which type of activity should be undertaken at that stage. Okay, that is identifying and listing the resources. It should not happen that we are using more than what we have. Then that will be a deficit thing. What is happening? It should not happen like that. Then planning for exploitation means develop a planning structure with such suitable technology, skill, and institutional setup. It should not be that we are just doing the planning and there is not a proper structure for it and we are just overutilizing it, and at last we don't have the resources to use more. Then next is match the resource development plans with the national development plan. Whatever development plan the nation is having, is it matching with the resources? According to that only the resource development plan should be made. Whatever things we are having, with that only we can produce or we can develop something. So that thing should be also there in your mind. And now here I have listed some of the points, that is why resource planning is important, because it is very much necessary for our balanced development in our country like India, which is a developing country. So here you can see the point that some regions of India are very rich in certain resources and poor in some other resources. It may be good in some and not good in some. So according to that, we have to balance the resource. The example given here is about Rajasthan. Rajasthan is very rich in solar and wind energy, but it is very poor in water resources. Right. Second one is some regions are self-sufficient while other regions are very poor in important resources. We can say example Madhya Pradesh, which is very rich in many resources, but Ladakh is poor in resources. So some regions are also there which is not having the proper resource balance. Then comes wastage of resources, which can be avoided by planning. As I told you earlier, when we plan and keep something, then there is no way of wasting it. Okay. Next is environmental pollution can be reduced. When we are planning the resource properly, using it properly, then our environment pollution can be, of course, reduced. Next is over exploitation of resources can be avoided. Over exploitation of resources can be avoided if we are doing a proper planning. Next is resource conservation. Okay. So what is the meaning of resource conservation? Resource conservation means which is planning out some what we say, some ideas or some ways or some structures according to which we can conserve our resources. planned use of resources in order to meet the present needs and to store a part for the future generation. We should not use everything for our present generation now. We should always keep for a future generation also. So that is known as resource conservation. And it is very necessary because many resources are there which are non-renewable and exhaustible. So if you will not conserve them, then it is problem because it takes a longer period to create. Okay. Next is conservation of resources which help us to reduce the wastage, which will help in our economic progress also. And resource conservation helps us to protect the environment. It helps us to protect the environment because when we are not using much resources and we are planning and doing it properly, then there will be no type of exploitation, no type of any pollution coming, and we are helping our environment to be protected. Okay, so some of the question now. This is at the end of our topic. We are ending here. Just we will continue in the next lecture. So some questions which I want to give you is just note it down that why resource planning is important. Second thing, what are the different types of resources? And third is um, why is resource conservation very much important for the countries? Why, what important role the resource conservation is playing? Okay, these are the three main questions which I have given you. Okay, so thank you and have a nice day. Okay.